welcome to Guitar Talk. Today on Guitar Talk I'm playing around with this Fender Telecaster. It's a Squire made by Fender. It's not mine, it belongs to my friend Roji, and he asked me to check out the action on it and do some of that kind of stuff, and so I did. And then he texted my wife Debbie and said, you know, if Charles wants he can review it on the channel. So I thought, well, I might as well. And it is a beautiful guitar. And I can't say I'm a Fender Telecaster expert. However, I did own one up until a couple years ago, since 1974. So I'm pretty familiar with them. And that particular instrument that I had is a 1961 Fender Telecaster. When I say had, it's still in the family. My daughter Charlie has it at her house, and that's kind of her deal. She's a guitar player too, and she wanted to practice playing on an electric, and so I said, well, you might as well take this one. I've been playing it since I was 14 years old, and there's a funny story about that. I'm going to get to this guitar in just a minute, but like I said, it's a 61. I got it in 1974 when I was 14. I was playing an old guitar, and you know, I might discuss some of that down the road, but I was sitting in the house, and one of my dad's friends came over to me, and I was playing, and he said, would you like to have a Fender Telecaster? I said, oh, who wouldn't? And he said, well, if you'll play it for the Lord, I'll give it to you. And he gave me a 74 Fender Telecaster. And so that's why it's still in the family. And his name was Ken Mills, and he's a wonderful man. And I so appreciate what he did for me that day. And I'll explain that noise in just a minute too. But in that process, it's not the guitar. And in the process of that, then I started two churches with a Fender Telecaster. It looks similar to this actually, you know, but mine was a 61, and this I think is more of the reproduction of an older 50s style, but beautiful guitar. They've done a great job. Of course it says Squire in the Fender looking script, but it also says made, you know, designed and produced by Fender. Backed by Fender, all that sort of stuff. Very nice, the finish. It has that real vintage, cool look to it. It came really well. I really didn't do a lot. I checked to make sure the strings were lined up, and then I did replace the nut because it didn't have a bone nut, and the nut seemed a little high, and so I went ahead and got a bone nut for a Fender Telecaster, and it was a little shorter. Got the strings closer within the right tolerances to the first fret, and gives it a little more tone quality with bone. And I slipped that in there. It was very easy. And then I just kind of did the normal adjustments on the bridge with a screwdriver to get it down to the, you know, 6/64 at the 12th fret, like I talked about in another video. And then I checked all the intonation on the three adjustments here so that it was correct there on the harmonics at the 12th fret. So really a great thing here. What I think about that, you know, every once in a while I hear guys say, oh, you should own the best guitars you can afford. You know, I enjoyed playing a Fender Telecaster for years. You know, think about that, right? For years. And I would say a wonderful guitar to own and play, and loved it very much, and I still do love it. And but it was given to me. You know, my first guitar was $1.69. The guitar I was playing when the guy gave me the Fender Telecaster was an old Silvertone with lipstick pickups. My dad bought that and the amplifier case for $50. And you know, that's what we could afford. And so, but was it the best we could afford? I don't know, but it got me by. And then my third guitar was this Telecaster. And I think when a company like Fender figures out how to create one of their classic guitars at an affordable price, it is fantastic. And this is really a quality guitar. And I know they're guitar snobs. Oh, why get a Squire? It is a beautiful instrument, and it's a Fender, and it plays really well. My apologies in advance in that I don't normally play slinky strings, and so I'm a little out of practice on slinky strings. Um, in fact, even when I was playing my old 61 a lot, I would go and try to find the lightest strings I could get that still had a wound G string. And I remember at a music store, maybe 10 years back, I was looking for strings, and the guy was telling me, oh, those aren't the strings you want on that guitar. You want a different set of strings on that guitar. And he's going on and on. And I said, well, no, I'm pretty sure these are the strings I want. And I kind of insisted on it. And at the checkout, he said, so how long have you had that 61 Telecaster? And I said, well, I've had it since 1974. And he said, I guess you know what strings you want. So I thought that was cute, and he was very humble and pleasant about it. The one difference I noticed between my original 61 and this has the larger jumbo frets, which aren't bad. It's a good thing. I've had them on other instruments. In fact, I have an instrument I built, I'll show in another video, electric guitar that has jumbo frets. I just, I have what now is called vintage frets. Back then we just called them frets. And I've grown used to them, and I could explain that. But beautiful guitar. Thought I'd play it for you. Just to let you hear the sound, and I'm not doing a lot with the effects. It's got a little, well, let me tell you about the amp. The amp here, I'll do in more detail down the road, but if you hear a buzzing or a hissing or any of that, it's because this is a real honest-to-goodness tube amp. It's not a digitized, I think when I look at the inside, I think the guts are probably Silvertone. My dad had a Silvertone tube amp. That's why I bought this one, because inside it was exactly the same. This has been redone into a vintage suitcase. We'll look at that in another time. But it has that real warm, comfortable sound of a tube amp, and I'm just playing games with it right now. And the only foot pedal I've hooked to it is an old-fashioned slap reverb, probably, simulates the 50s. And so I'm clumsy on those slinkies, but the reason I did that song, well, first of all, it's the very first song I ever learned in 1968 to play, and but it comes out of the scale I taught in the last chat, and so that's with both pickups on. I'll talk about that scale at the very end of the video. This is the treble. And then we can go to the bass pickup. So that's the sound. Beautiful. Everything works marvelously. The finish is exceptional on this. Really glossy. It just completely reminds me of my personal vintage Telecaster. And a friend of mine had one from the earlier than mine, and it looked just like this. And so this is back in the 70s. So his was an original Telecaster also, but older than mine, maybe, I don't know, 59 or something. just this is like this, only maybe a nicer finish. So you know, very, very excellent. I'm looking forward, Roji, to you playing this in church, and that he goes to our church, and so grateful to all that you do as a servant of the Lord. If I can talk about this scale that I introduced last time. That I say working out of a G chord. Now, keep practicing that forward and backward as taught. And if, like I said, if you're interested in any of the charts, you're more than welcome to email me. That's a 2-octave scale. It's not a lick. Licks are different than scales, and I wanted to clarify that for you. That a lot of people, they want to learn a quick lick that they can throw into just about any song, and that's cool, and it's nice, and it's a shortcut and saves time. But by learning scales, from there you can listen to songs and actually play the melody of songs, and you can learn to do it by ear. And you know, I agree with Mozart, who said melody is everything, and I think that's so true. And so when the song "What a Friend We Have in Jesus" that I was playing comes out of that scale. So if you look at the scale, and scales work based on the alphabet, not even the whole alphabet. So you're fortunate you don't have to learn the whole alphabet. Just 7 letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts over. And so in this case, we're in the key of G, and we start with a G, the first octave, then G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the F in this case, you don't even know it, it's music theory. It's actually an F sharp. But that's because in the G scale, that's what you'd want. It shouldn't matter if you're learning the scale and you use a capo to move it up and down the neck. You don't actually have to know the names. You just need to know this is a root, this is a root, and this is a root. And so those are all, in this case, G's. And you flesh it out from there. And so that's all I did with What a Friend We Have Jesus. It's actually from this scale. So I just kind of built the song from that scale. So obviously you're not playing the whole do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. You're playing the pieces of the scale that build the melody. And that's important because you can build that out. You'll know what key to build that in if you're doing it. And someone says they want to do the song in a different key, you put your capo and you move it up and down, and you play the same scale of notes. And so let's say I learned that song in G. My wife comes along and says, oh, I want to do that in B flat. I just put the capo on the 3rd fret and play the same exact scale I practiced on. And it's a time saver, and it's easier that way, and all of those sorts of things. Now, what I want to do, the reason this becomes important, because we want to add some other scales and other positions. And so you learn that G, you go up to some of the others, and you move them back and forth. And so that's enough for now. I think that's important to practice it that way. I think licks are fantastic. We'll probably play around with some of those eventually, but you know, all those licks and different things you do to flesh something out, it's good, but it's not the actual melody. And learning scales helps you get there, and I think that's an important skill to have, and it allows you to walk into a situation and start playing with others. And we can take shortcuts, but to really build things, I think we can do that. I will say, apologies again. I haven't been playing this guitar. I'm not used to slinky strings very much. In fact, just before I picked this up, I was playing a wider neck. I was playing a 12 strings, so double sets of strings to push down with your fingers, wider neck. So I want to just really kind of overdo on these light strings. But I also, as I do the scale, this will be something we can practice later, but I will use some double stops and stuff. So if I was to flesh that scale out and work it down to the G chord, it'd be something like this. So that's what we're working on. I'll close with this thought that there's a process where you learn, and there's a natural way of doing things. Talking about playing a scale and doing it a very specific way with one note at a time is probably not the natural thing for me always. So I have to slow down and focus where normally playing, when I play, I just kind of do what I feel like, and it's a lot easier. I think of a scene from an old movie where a gunslinger is asked to shoot, just point and shoot at a can, and he can't hit it, and then finally asks the guy, can I move? Can I do what I do? And the guy said, yeah, and he pulls it from his hip and he shoots the can several times. Sometimes you feel like that. If I have to do it this certain way, it's a lot more difficult than if I just got in there and did my stuff. But it's fun. I hope you love the guitar. Amen. Lord bless you. We'll see you next time.